Hello and welcome to the Film Whisperers, where two movie nerds talk all things movies with a contemporary lens. My name is Saj.
And my name is Matt.
So, Matt, firstly, again, great to be in studio again.
As always, yeah.
You know that we like to talk about movies, and I think we've been exploring a lot of genres. We've done horror, we've done romance, we've done feminists, we've done comedy. I was thinking this time, let's just maybe talk a bit about films that we essentially don't talk about a lot. And I'm going to call it movies that are quite heavy. Now, do you like watching films like this? So, like heavy films.
Yeah, I actually do, just because I really like movies that draw out like a really strong emotion in me, whatever that emotion is. And I feel like heavy movies generally just really sit with you a lot, like as opposed to kind of more light, surface level ones. But I do also feel like, for the last couple of years, there hasn't probably amongst most people, there hasn't been much of an appetite to watch those kinds of movies because we've all been like, locked down and different stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of been hard to watch them. But normally I actually don't mind watching them because I really, even if it makes me feel down or different, I kind of like watching something that I really feel something afterwards from. But what about you?
Yeah, no, I'm all about it, and I think it just depends on what it is they are doing to represent that heaviness. So let's have a quick chat about this whole, people, we're using this term heavy, but what would you consider, how would you define a heavy movie?
For me personally, and you might be added to this, but like I guess when I think of a heavy movie, I think of one that just deals with like maybe either like really kind of dire or dark subject matter, so something that's like not like just light and fun, something that's quite like it can be quite dark or it can be just quite dire. So like the characters in the movie are dealing with something that's just very bleak, or it could be a movie that's just very, very sad. It's just really like a really sad subject matter. I think it could be quite heavy, considered quite heavy as well. Is there anything you would add to that?
Yeah, look, I think all of the above, and I also think I would like to add it's a film that is so good, maybe, that you don't want to watch again.
That's a good one as well.
Yeah, because some films can be so emotionally draining. You do not want to sit through
Can't
that.
watch it again, yeah.
You don't want to sit through that again. Anyway, let's start with our usual what we thought was really good, right? So, is there a film that you reckon was really heavy, really great, but you won't watch again?
Yeah, I managed to actually watch this one twice just because it was like years apart. And I'm like, I think I can watch it again because it is a really well-made movie, but it is heavy. It's a movie called The Piano Teacher. So I believe it's French, but it's directed by Michael Haneke, who did like Funny Games and stuff like that. It's the same director.
Right.
And so basically this movie stars Isabelle Huppert as like a piano, in the titular role, so she's a piano teacher. And the reason why it's heavy is because it's kind of established from the beginning of the movie that she lives a very kind of bleak life. So like she goes each day and does her tutors students with piano and then spends her spare time either at home, living under like her really insufferable mother, or going out and to like peep shows and like strip places, because she has this kind of like, I guess, simmering like desire that she just has no outlet to let out. So basically she's quite a sexual person, but like just doesn't have any outlet to do it. So basically teaches piano during the day, and when she's at home, she just can't stand her mother at all, and they just live this very kind of mundane life, but she secretly harbors all this kind of like sexual desire and frustration and stuff like that. Eventually, one of the students that comes along, who's significantly younger than her, she really becomes quite obsessed with, and then over the course of the movie, without giving away what happens, it just devolves, like it kind of turns into something quite dark, and it all kind of culminates at the end. But the reason why it's quite heavy is because I guess as you're watching it, like it's quite interesting and you want to see what happens next, but like her life is very much presented as being incredibly sad. Like she just like doesn't have anything happening, and she's also very like you can just tell the way they portray it is just like that she doesn't really have anyone in her life aside from her mum, who she can't stand. So it's just like really heavy going, and as the movie goes, because it's kind of building to something, you just kind of feel what she's feeling. You can feel like, oh, this isn't gonna end well. It feels like it's not like a typical heavy movie in that it's not like obvious to point to the reasons why. It's not like, oh, it deals with this issue or deals with that. It's more just that the whole movie just feels very like, sad and very like morose and very like and bleak. I guess that's probably the best way to describe it. But it is a very well made movie, and it's definitely worth watching once. Just because it's just it's a well written story, it's a well made movie, and Isabelle Huppert is amazing in it. But it's also just one of those ones where you leave it just feeling very like, oh, that was really kind of bleak and sad and not particularly uplifting. But yeah, I think that would definitely be my one.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
So you just reminded me of a film, and I'm going to talk about that. So I was initially going to go with Requiem for a Dream.
Yep.
But then you said the words funny games.
Oh yeah.
And that's going to be mine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I remember. So I watched the English version of it, which had Naomi Watts in it. Now I will not be watching the foreign language version because I'm guessing it's probably 10 times worse.
Interestingly, actually, sorry, no, you continue. Yeah, you go.
Okay, because look anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
So the English version was horrible, but it was really well done, and it made me feel for those characters. So if for those of you who don't know what Funny Games is about, it's just, to keep it simple, two boys go into someone's holiday home and torture the family, and they go places where it just makes you feel really uncomfortable, because it's just that the bullying, the manipulation, the violence that they pretty much this family endures is pretty horrible. So I don't know. I just think that watching that in the cinema, by the way, I watched it in the cinema, just made that whole experience just terrible.
Oh gosh, I can
imagine.
imagine.
And it makes you think twice before you open the door, because the whole film happens, and it's because they open the door to these two strangers. So yeah, it's even talking about it, I feel like it's so uncomfortable to talk about. But I remember at the time telling people about it, and they went and watched it, and they had very similar experience to me. We would talk about it, and they would say, "Yeah, that was really messed up, Saj." I know, and I know it is such a messed up movie, and I think that's why it's intense, because that's why it's heavy, because it's messed up.
It's very true, and it's like you said before. I think you touched on a good point, which is like, they open the door to these strangers. It's like, oftentimes when we watch a movie where something bad happens, like there's a villain, and there's usually like, you kind of get a sense of why they're doing it, and there's like a bit of a story arc, and you kind of learn that. But with this one, it's very just random. Like, I feel like, yeah, like you said, it could happen to anyone. Like, there's nothing you could prepare for something like that to happen, because you just open your door to someone, and then So I will say though, with I believe, I haven't watched it in a long time, like the non-US one, but I'm pretty sure they're actually like almost shot for shot exactly the same.
Yes, I've heard that.
So it's kind of interesting. Like, yeah, it's kind of like how they did, like, I think that they did it with Psycho and stuff like that as well. But
and that didn't work.
No, that definitely didn't work. But I actually think with this one, even though they're essentially the same, I actually think the Naomi Watts one is pretty good. Like, even though they're basically the same, I think they did it pretty well. But yeah, very bleak. That is definitely
Yeah, so two very heavy films.
Yeah, so when we talk about these ones, this isn't necessarily like a recommendation, but it's more just like,
I would say it's a recommendation.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, people, if they are emotionally able to watch these films, go for it, because they're not bad movies, at least the ones that we're talking about now. But just be mindful that they're heavy. That's it.
Definitely. Well, with that, thank you so much for joining us here. You've been watching The Film Whisperers on Bent TV, and we'll see you next time.